I am joined today here by Ryan Thomas. He is our regional sales manager slash branch manager
Yeah,
down
just call
in
me a branch manager.
our Orlando office. Um, and yeah, so thank you for joining me, Ryan. And we can just jump right in. Um, Talk to me about how did you get started in the mortgage industry, how long you've been in the industry, just kind of your backstory there.
Yeah, I actually fell into the industry, which is awesome. I had just graduated from college and I was buying my first house, 159,000 FHA loan, first time home buyer here. And I was going through a national bank mortgage lender. I'm going to tell you who it is because they're not even in business. It's GMAC. And the guy ripped me off. He had me pay for a rate lock fee up front, locked in my rate. Day of closing, my cash to closing was way more than expected. My rate ended up being higher. He was nowhere to be found, wouldn't answer his phone, wouldn't explain anything. I was just a baby. My wife and I were at the closing, and there was an attorney there. And they said, if you don't sign, the seller can sue you for performance, keep your deposit. There's nothing you can do. My wife was crying. I was upset. We signed, we bought the house. And I walked away and I said, you know what? I want to find out what happened. And I bought Mortgages for Dummies. I learned a bunch of vocabulary. I learned what points were. I learned a lot of acronyms. And long story short is, I showed up to a job fair. I got a job as an LO. My career started. 3 months later, I was under the desk telling people to call other people because we were ripping them off. And I decided to go start my own mortgage brokerage at like 22 years old.
Wow, that's crazy. And that was when you still lived up in New England, correct?
Yeah, I was in Rochester, New Hampshire, and I started at my own company, Thomas Family Mortgage.
Nice.
Yeah, youngest broker owner. And everywhere I went, people always said, where's your dad? Which I thought was pretty funny because, long story short is I got emancipated. I've had three dads. I was on my own. So it was just funny, but it's because I named the company Thomas Family Mortgage. Probably should have picked a better name. So I slowly started going by TFM.
Nice. How long were you there? When did you join North Point? Kind of what's that whole story there?
Yeah, so I had Thomas Family Mortgage from like 2002 until 2009-ish, I believe. And what ended up happening is they changed the laws when the mortgage market was crashing. And in order to be able to do government loans, you had to have an Eagle. They required $1 million liquid. I was still a baby. I think I wasn't even 30 yet. And we were very successful. We were doing great because I never did the subprime loans. I never did any of the option arms or any of the bad stuff. We were always about honesty and helping people. That's why I got into business, right? Because someone ripped me off. So, but I was very nervous and still a kid watching all these banks implode everywhere. And I didn't quite have the money. I didn't want investors. I didn't want loans. So I merged with another company called Merrimack Mortgage. And I was doing a DBA. So I was Merrimack Mortgage doing business as Thomas Family. And then they changed the laws and no longer allowed that. And then they started loan officer compensation. So I took my company back from Merrimack and I sold it to Wells Fargo. Had a 2-year non-compete with Wells Fargo, worst 2 years of my life. Could not wait to get out. And Tim and Rich, funny enough, Tim's daughter and sons went to a private school that my daughter went to. And he saw me at a daddy-daughter dance. And he said, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I took your licensing class you sponsored in 2006. And, I've always been impressed with you and I'd love to meet you and we could use your help. And we went to the World Series. We went to dinner first. I talked the waitress into doing a mortgage with me. Rich, Tim, and Don were like, huh, you got a mortgage on an interview. Pretty interesting. And yeah, I ended up joining them, and that was, I don't know, 12 years ago.
That's awesome. I never knew that backstory. It's always funny how those things work out.
Oh yeah.
And when did you move down to Florida?
2016.
Nice. What brought you down to Florida? Just
The
no more New
weather,
England weathers.
yeah, the weather. My wife loves Disney. We were at the point we were just ready for a change. It was very scary. I didn't know anybody in Florida, not a soul. We just got up and moved. It was really sporadic. We were down here on vacation. We looked at a house. I made an offer. I went back. I called Tim. I said, I need to see you. You got to come in the office on Monday. he was freaking out. He thought I was going to quit. I'm like, no, I'm just moving to Florida. He's like, great, we'll get you an office. Let's go. And I moved to Florida, and it was like a light switch. Like I didn't stop. I just crushed it. Right when I came here, it was no different from when I was up north. It was fun for me too, right? I'd been in the business so long. I think I'm going on like 26, 27 years. And I've been in the business so long that everything was just mundane. So it was really nice to get that like fire in your belly again and come down and have the nervousness and going out and trying to impress people and get business. And, in New Hampshire, I always felt like the Kevin Bacon. I always felt like I was connected to everybody. It was a small state. I pretty much financed you or someone you knew. So it was really interesting to come down to a place like Florida with 27 million people. I joke every day. New Hampshire has about 1 million people in the state. Florida sees more than 1 million visitors a week in Orlando. So it's like my old state flying in every week to come see Disney. So
That's funny.
it really reignited me. It really gave me it was pretty exciting. I'm very happy that I made the move.
That's awesome. And it obviously just shows how good you are at what you do, since you didn't really skip a beat and just were able to transfer everything down there. So that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So because you've been in the industry so long and seen a lot of the ups and downs that have happened, what's something that you know now that you wish you knew when you first became a loan officer?
It's not industry wise, it is professional wise, and it's the work-life balance. I didn't discover that until probably about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And I really started to finally understand it, where I started spending more time with my family, shutting my phone off when I went on vacation, making time for myself to go to the gym. And in this career, we're so wired to believe we have to be available 24/7. And if you miss that one call, you're going to miss that deal. It's the end of the world. And I was brainwashed in believing that. And I'm not saying that I'm not available and I don't answer my phone and my clients don't think it, but I take way more time. I mean, I vacation months a year. I mean, I just went to Japan for the whole month of April. I shut my phone off. I really take that time with my family. You only live once, and I wish I better understood that when I was younger, because I make more money today and I work a lot less than I did when I was younger, and I just worked myself to death.
Yeah, I think that's super important for people to know. I didn't have that kind of realization moment till I think COVID, was when I really hit for me, which I think it helped for a lot of people at that time. But yeah, I think that's something that's super important for people um to kind of get. How do you stay motivated during slower market periods?
So that was a funny question. I don't. I am the same motive. I struggle more during busy markets than I do during slow markets because I schedule everything. So I make so many calls a week. I make my appointments. I have all my connections. I meet with all my referral sources once a month. My days are already set up. My week's already planned. Everything is just clockwork for me. And so when I get really, really busy in the really busy markets, that's when I struggle because making those calls, making those appointments, making those touches are so important. And it's so easy in a low rate, busy market to just start doing refinances, grab that low hanging fruit. And you got to focus on what this business is really about. This business is definitely about refinancing and saving people money, but the business is helping them get into a home. And that's the struggle. And so I struggle more in a busy market than I do in a slow market. In the slow market, it's perfect because I love to live by a schedule.
You're a marketer's dream, Ryan, because I'm always preaching time blocking and no one ever listens to me.
Yeah, what's funny is I schedule everything. If I go to the gym, I schedule it. I put it in my books. Everything personal, business, life is a schedule and it's in my calendar. So, people will get a response. Ryan's at an appointment. They may think I'm with a realtor, a client, or a closing, but I could be at a gym or I could be at a play or I could be at dinner with my wife. I just block and schedule everything. Everything in my life is an appointment. And that's just how I'm able to do that work-life balance.
No, that's awesome. And I'm glad for you that you found that kind of way of managing your life. What's a common misconception people have about getting a mortgage?
Um, Probably just it's easy. Like, I think a lot of people think it should be easier than it is. I think people, they really don't like to give everything. There's a saying in our industry, buyers are liars. I don't think that's really necessarily true. I think it's just that they don't know what to tell you and they're afraid to tell you things. When in reality, the easiest thing is just to tell your loan officer everything and let them help you figure it out. But I think people, they think it should be easier. Oh, I make this much money. Why does it matter if it's bonuses? Why does it matter if it's commission? Who cares where that deposit came from? Why can't I have cash? So I think the biggest misconception is twofold. They think it's easy, but I also think there's the same misconception with people out there that they think it's really hard. Many people don't want to get a mortgage because they hear the horror stories, but they hear the horror stories from the people that think it should have been easier and they think it was bad. Or you have a bad loan officer, a bad company, the wrong program. So, but I think that the biggest misconception is either it should be easier or it's too hard. In reality, it is easy. You just have to do what's needed. And as long as you do what's needed, I tell every LO that works for me, and I tell my customers, give me an hour. Give me an hour of your time. Give me what I need. Do a good application. Get everything you need. Go through it. Check everything. Do it right. And that's going to go really smooth. And if the customers tell you everything up front, there's no surprises and you don't have the horror stories.
It's a great point. What do you think sets North Point apart from other lenders?
The people, and I think a lot of companies say the people, but you've worked for other companies. I've worked for other companies, as we just said. The people matter. The fact that I can pick up the phone and get the owners on the phone whenever I want. I consider them my friends, my brothers, the people in the company. Some of the people we work with, not only in Florida, but up north, are like my family. And I think we don't do, and we say it, but people aren't a loan number to us. They're not an address. It bothers me when I walk into a real estate office and they have a whiteboard with 50 addresses on it, or they have, 50 last names or whatever. It's like people aren't a name. They're not an address. They're people. And we treat everyone as a person, not as another deal. And that's what makes us different. We really care. I go from our processing to our loan opening, to our closing, to our funding. Everyone works late, stays late. They even do it if it's not overtime. People just do it because they care. And that's what makes us different. They care about their coworkers and they care about their customers. And when you really, really care about what you do, it makes a big difference. And hey, I've been here 12 years and I was with Wells Fargo for 2, Merrimack for 2, and I had my own company for 7. And I've told everyone that this is the closest culture to the closest company that I've ever could think of working for that would be exactly what I had or what I would do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I've been here for a year and a half and I'm not going anywhere. So
yeah. Nothing's perfect. Everybody has their growing pains, but when it comes down to it, people care. And that's what makes the difference.
Absolutely. So for this kind of round of questions, this is going to be the last one I have for you, but
can I pick it?
You can pick it if I have not asked one that you wanted to talk about.
Because there's a question that is my favorite question.
Okay. Yes. What's your favorite question? We'll see if we have the same one.
My favorite question is, how have you seen the industry evolve since you started and what changed? And I think this is very important to ask someone like me, because what I've seen in 22 years, you wouldn't expect to see in 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
So let me explain. First off, there was no MLS. There was no Zillow. There was no Realtor.com. The internet was not used. Yes, I am that old. And yes, it was in the 2000s. 2000s, there were books. You had to pay money to go to your local board of realtors every quarter to get the books to show all the sales. That's how you got your comparables. To look at listings, to want to know what you could buy, you had to drive around and look at signs, listen to the radio, look in the newspaper, and get homes and land. That was the only way to do it. It gets worse than that. Everyone used fax machines. And when I started, the faxes weren't even count. You could get the fax, but you still had to get the original. You couldn't read anything. What makes it worse, the appraisers would go to the the stores to do 24-hour photos. They would develop the pictures, they would stick them on the appraisal report, and they'd drop them off at our office in person, and we'd have to scan in the appraisals. They weren't digital. We didn't use PDFs. The fact that I lived in that world, there was no such thing as e-sign. Everything was done in person. I literally met every single customer I worked with, or I overnighted a package to them with an envelope to overnight it back. To hear loan officers and customers complain today about how difficult something is, not realizing that just 24 years ago, I was living in a world that was so vastly different. And for me, I think technology has changed in your lifetime. You're younger than me, and it's changed a lot. I mean, I didn't even have a computer until I was in college. My first cell phone was 1998. I remember when my 7-year-old daughter was in Walmart and said, "Why can't I have a cell phone? When did you have your first cell phone?" And I just chuckled. But technology has probably moved forward in the last 25 years more than it did in the 200 years prior. And I think in our industry specifically, that amount of technology change has been insane. Now, with that being said, I am not pro technology. I am not pro the AI. I'm not pro the applications online. I'm not in favor of the 5-minute pre-approvals, the rocket mortgages. I think it's a problem for our industry. I think it's taken away from the personal touch. I think it leaves a lot more anxiety and stress about getting a loan. I think there's a lot of negatives to our technology, but obviously the positives of e-sign and being able to get digital appraisals and being able to not have to buy books to look up comparables to see what your house is worth a quarter later after they sold. Like, I mean, there's so much great technology, but I think too many people don't realize that that was just 25 years ago.
Yeah. And it's like anything, right? It's finding that right balance of using technology, but also keeping that personal touch. And, we don't want to be a rocket mortgage. We don't want to be a call center mortgage company. So yeah,
We don't.
it's finding
And
that.
I think we do a good job of that. I know for
Yeah.
my staff particularly, we try not to do online apps. We try to do all the applications over the phone. We try to have that personal touch, try to get all the information, spend that hour, that good hour with a client up front, and then obviously throughout the process, but really just focus on them, answer their questions, build their trust and rapport. But I don't feel that's the industry standard. I think that's now the few of us that are doing that. And I'm afraid when some of the older school people like myself leave the industry, that's going to be gone. It's going to be like the dinosaurs. So, and that makes me sad.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll even out, like any pendulum, right? It swings one way, it swings the other. Hopefully it'll kind of come back to center.
But I had to talk about the technology because I still cannot
it's a
believe
great point.
we didn't have MLS and faxes, and it was just crazy. It was just a crazy time.
Yeah, think about how much more you could have gotten accomplished or done, or how many more loans could have closed if things were done a little smoother now, like they are now.
They were, but the difference back then, because it wasn't regulated, good or bad, if you did good by your people, you could actually do a mortgage same day. You could literally start an application and close
Wow.
that day. And we used to do it all the time.
Wow. That's
That's crazy. It was crazy. So just the weird pendulum spin that you were talking about. It's been crazy. So that's one of my favorite things to talk about. And you got to remember that because I started so young, that's why my license number is so low. Because as a broker, you had to be licensed and everyone worked underneath my license. So all the brokers back in 2000 or lenders, most of the owners there were in their 40s and 50s and so on. So they're either retired or dead. So I'm sitting here with one of the lowest license numbers in the country and still a relatively young age, but it's because I got it so young. They didn't require licensing till 2009, but I had my license in 2001. So, yeah, so it's weird to be on both ends of the perspective. At one point I was the youngest in the industry and everyone was like, "Where's your dad?" And now I'm considered the old guy in the industry, and it's pretty funny. And the 25 years seems like a lifetime.
Yeah, but it also happens so quick. It's a little crazy.
It does. It does. Yeah. Sorry, but I had to talk about it.
No,
That was my
no, that
favorite
was
question on
perfect.
there.
No. So the last thing we're gonna do, just for a little fun for people to get to know you personally, is I'm just gonna do some rapid fire, kind of this or that style questions, and just tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Sure.
So, coffee or tea?
Neither.
Neither? Is that what you said?
Neither. I don't drink
Oh,
caffeine. I don't drink
wow.
soda. I'm a water guy and soda water, and that's it. I like my tequila. Maybe we should
Well,
edit
that's
that
fair.
out, but I do
Okay.
like my tequila.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to edit it. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Early bird or night owl?
Both. I sleep about 6 hours a night. I go to bed around midnight and I get up around 6.
What is the most used app on your phone?
I hate to admit it, but probably Facebook. I guess I'm showing my age.
I mean, mine's probably Instagram, so it's fine. What is your dream vacation spot?
That's not a fair question because I've pretty much been everywhere now. I'm actually going to Antarctica in November. I'm going to be able to walk out, hike. We're going to be there for about a week and see the penguins. And so, I mean, that was one of them. But you know, come November, that will no longer be my dream. But I've traveled the world. I've been very fortunate in life that I've seen pretty. I tell my family every day, like if I die tomorrow, there's nothing I regret. I've seen everything, so I'm pretty lucky. This business has given me that ability to be able to do those things. And the funny thing is, we talk about time, and I know it's a rapid fire, but 25 years ago, I was homeless.
Okay.
25 years ago, I was homeless. I had no car, no money, $10 in my bank account, no place to go, and everything I had was in a garbage bag. So what this industry has done for me in 25 years is, and for my family, is amazing.
Yeah, it's changed your life. And on a happier note, I am gonna have to pick your brain once you go to Antarctica because that's on my bucket list of places to
Okay.
go. So I can't wait to hear about that one.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
excited.
what was the first concert you ever went to?
Beach Boys, Chicago, Old Orchard Beach,
Nice.
Maine.
Old Orchard Beach. That's awesome.
I was like 6 years old. I still remember it today. Nosebleeds.
Oh, that's awesome. Um, what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day closing all those loans?
It's the gym.
Fair.
I go to I'm a night guy for working out. It's the only way I can unwind. This job is very stressful. I don't think people realize how stressful it can be. And I can't just stop and sit down and look at the TV or something. I have to go burn out some energy. So I basically go to the gym every night when I'm done. It doesn't matter if I finish at 6, 8, or 9 o'clock at night. I go to the gym.
Definitely understandable.
Yeah.
And finally, what is one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
Well, probably what I just said, that I was homeless 25 years ago. Most people, I got emancipated, put myself through college, worked 3 jobs in college. I stocked shelves overnight. I cooked. I did testing on weekends, tutoring. I literally have been on my own for as long as I can remember. And I've been adopted 3 times. I've had 3 last names in my life. And so, you know, most people meet me and they just assume that it was passed down from my family or I was born wealthy or, you know, things were given to me. No one realizes what I actually had to go through to get to where I am today. So,
It's pretty inspiring.
yeah. So,
Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us, Ryan. Let people know what the best way to contact you is.
my cell phone, and I have 2 of them, 603-973-6224 for all my New England people, and 407-630-3318 for all my people in the South.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Emily.